All right, welcome back to ABA exam review and the continuation of our RBT exam practice question series where we're going through the next set of questions together and breaking them down. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Please like and subscribe. Check out btexamreview.com for all of our study materials, including our combo pack and practice exams. When you pass, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. Let's get going. The first time his son said more, Jason smiled and gave him another bite. After a couple of weeks, Jason only gave his son another bite following more if the son was actually still hungry. What was Jason doing? We don't have a lot of information to work with here, but who are we looking at in the question? What is the question asking? Always start there. The question is asking about Jason and what he's doing relative to his son. What we know is when his son first said more, Jason smiled and gave him another bite. So we can conclude Jason was trying to reinforce his son for saying more, and he's teaching him some sort of functional communication training. Now, after a couple of weeks, Jason is only giving his son another bite following more if the son was actually still hungry. What can you conclude from that idea? Well, if we look at the first few weeks, anytime the son was saying more, Jason would smile and give him another bite. So he's more or less on some sort of FR1 continuous schedule. Jason's trying to strengthen this new skill. After that skill was strengthened, Jason is now teaching his son to only say more if the son was actually still hungry. So the son isn't receiving reinforcement every single time he says more. He's only receiving reinforcement if the son is still hungry. So what is Jason doing here? Well, A, fading, right? Originally, Jason has him on a continuous schedule. Whenever the son says more, Jason reinforces. Now, Jason is only giving reinforcement in certain situations. He's starting to fade his reinforcement schedule to help with generalization, to help the son better discriminate between being hungry and actually not needing more food. So Jason is fading his reinforcement. Why is he not shaping? Well, Jason's son already has the behavior, right? Jason's son can already say more. So we're not working on more anymore, right? That approximation is over. Jason's son is saying more. He's not shaping that behavior up anymore. They've already hit that terminal point. Why is he not differentiating? Well, the son or Jason isn't differentiating because differentiation refers to different responses. Jason is still reinforcing. He's still engaging in the same response. What he's doing now is discriminating between when the son is hungry and when the son is not hungry. And now he's only delivering reinforcement when the son is actually still hungry. Differentiating has to do with responses. Jason is still going through the same response of reinforcement. He's now discriminating between situations. So Jason in this scenario is fading his schedule and delivering less reinforcement as opposed to more in the beginning. Before buying a house, Larry searches around for the best interest rate he can find. He writes all the rates down on a piece of paper, compares the rates, and then chooses the one he prefers. What is Larry doing relative to the rates? All right, who are we looking at? We're looking at Larry. The question is asking about Larry's behavior relative to the rates. So what do we know? We know Larry is looking for the best interest rate he can find. So he's got, let's say, 6%, 7%, 8%, and he's writing them all down on a piece of paper. 8, 9, 10, 5, 6, 7. Let's say he's got 5 different rates. He starts comparing the different rates, and then he's going to choose the one he prefers. So what's the response here? Well, Larry's response is choosing the rate he prefers. Now, how is he going to decide which rate he prefers? Well, let's say he has 5 different rates. He's going to have to discriminate between the different rates and decide which one is better, which one fits what he needs. So what is Larry doing relative to the rates? Well, A, he's discriminating. Why is he discriminating? Well, he's discriminating between the different rates. The rates are the stimuli here, and they are evoking the response of choosing the one he prefers. And in order to choose the one he prefers, he's going to have to be able to discriminate between the different rates and choose in order to choose the one he likes. Why is it not differentiating? Well, just like last question, differentiating or response differentiation has to do with multiple responses or different responses. We don't have different responses here. Larry is simply engaging in the response of choosing the rate. What's changing are the stimuli because the different rates are changing. He's got to determine and choose and discriminate between the different rates to find the one he actually likes. Regardless of which one he chooses, he's still choosing it. So the response is not changing. He's not differentiating his response. Make sure you understand the difference between discrimination and differentiation. They're two very different things. He's not shaping, right? Larry isn't reinforcing approximations. When shaping is an option, always ask yourself, are there any approximations here? Are we reinforcing approximations? If we're not, we're very likely not shaping, and he's not reinforcing anything. Larry's the one doing the behavior. He's engaging in the response. He's not reinforcing anything. So Larry, relative to the rates, is discriminating between the different rates he's finding so he can choose the one he prefers. Marcus is learning to feed himself, but he'll often take too many bites and start to choke. His parents are encouraging him to slow down when he eats. His parents are trying to increase blank relative to his bites. Now, this is a measurement question, but goes a little deeper because the idea behind the measurement we choose is the measurement has to help us achieve our goal. So that's why we choose our measurement. We pick a goal and then we pick a measurement based on what we're trying to achieve. So since parents are trying to increase, keyword, something relative to his bites, what kind of measurement are they going to use? Well, we know Marcus is learning to feed himself, but he'll take too many bites and start to choke. So remember, we're trying to increase something. If he's taking too many bites, okay, you have to start thinking, I want to increase something that's going to lead him to taking less bites because the goal is to slow down when he eats and take less bites. So let's find a measurement where we can increase something that's leading to less bites. A, duration. Is duration going to help relative to his bites? Well, the bite is very discrete, right? When you bite something, it's a 1 second, if not less, discrete situation. You really can't mess with the duration of bites too much. You could increase the duration of bites, but is there a better way to handle this? Because the bite, the act of biting is so short and discrete that messing with the duration doesn't make a lot of sense. Is there a better option? What about B, latency? Latency says the time between the SD and the first response. We have to look at all these different bites, right? And so the SD might be when the food is put in front of him and then he takes his first bite. So that might help on the first bite, but what about all the future bites? So the latency might help with the first bite, but it might not help with all the bites. So what about C, inter-response time? Now, inter-response time, what are we doing there? With inter-response time, if we're going to increase inter-response time, we're increasing time in between the response, which is the biting. So if you increase time in between bites, by association, he's going to start taking less bites. If I take 1 minute in between bites, and then you increase that to 2 minutes in between bites, I'm taking half as many bites. So increasing inter-response time is going to be effective. And then this should be D, obviously, Frequency, well, we don't want to increase frequency. He's already taking too many bites. We want to, if anything, decrease frequency. What are we really trying to increase here is the inter-response time between bites. I want to increase the amount of time taken between bites. And therefore, if I can do that, I'm going to decrease how many bites he's taking. Start thinking of measurement in those terms. How does the measurement actually help us achieve our goal? Your supervising behavior analyst asks you to explain to a parent that you're about to start an extinction procedure. What should the parents be made aware of prior to beginning the procedure? All right, interesting. You have to kind of think like a behavior analyst here. What are we starting? We're starting an extinction procedure, and we need to make the parents aware of something prior to starting the procedure. So you have to think, what are we expecting from extinction? What are the different things we can expect? Number one, we're hoping if it's effective, the behavior decreases. But when we put behavior on extinction, what happens? Well, oftentimes it temporarily increases at first. Why? Well, we go through an extinction burst. So parents, A, definitely need to be made aware that behavior may temporarily increase at first because of the extinction burst. Absolutely. Now, what about B? Behavior that is successfully decreased may reappear in the future. One, is that true? Of course, we can put behavior on extinction. It can be effective, and that behavior can reemerge in the future. Well, what do we call that? As far as RBTs are concerned, we call that spontaneous recovery. Parents must be made aware of that. If we successfully implement extinction, behavior goes away, and we see it again in a month, we can't be surprised. It's not surprising. That's spontaneous recovery. Now, what about C? Extinction needs to be done at least 50% of the time to be effective. What's wrong with C? Well, if you're only doing an extinction procedure half the time, then the other half you're giving reinforcement. So you're not really changing anything. Extinction needs to be done at least or as close to 100% of the time as possible. Now, we know nobody's perfect, right? So we can't expect necessarily 100% extinction all the time, but it has to be done as close to 100% of the time as to be effective. 50% is just not nearly enough to really expect to see significant change. So you have to make them aware that behavior may temporarily increase at first due to extinction burst. Behavior that is successfully decreased may reappear in the future due to spontaneous recovery, so both A and B, but C is not true. Extinction has to be done as close to 100% of the time to be effective. Thank you for watching. Please check out btexamreview.com for all of our study materials, including our combo pack and practice exams. When you pass, please let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout-out. If we've helped you, please tell others. We really appreciate word of mouth. As always, work hard, study hard. See you soon.